Hello, Acolytes, and welcome back to Dishonored. I am distractimated. But, starting off, first I installed a couple of mods. One that allows for full regen of my resources over time. Just, guys, this is a very casual playthrough. And second, one that gets rid of the intro screens, so that starting up the game I don't have to sit for a few minutes through all that stuff. And that's a whale. Neat. And anyway. Starting off this episode, we will read everything that's sitting around the Hound Pits. Frankly, I've not gone through and read all of this stuff, frankly. Much as I love this game. Let's see, excerpt from a series of newspaper articles from prominent natural philosophers by Piero Joplin. It is through no fault of my own that the average citizen has expressed a preference for Sokolov's elixir over my own formula, so less Piero's remedy, a name I did not choose, if you must know the truth. The public has spoken its usual message of idiocy, spending their coin as a means of selecting Sokolov's formula over mine, which I believe to be equal if not superior. Much has been made over the popularity of these concoctions as a means of resisting this remarkable new plague. I say remarkable because this strain works with an efficiency we have not seen in the history of the Empire. This plague, now making its way through the city of Dunwall, is unrivaled in its effectiveness. I have studied it within the blood of those afflicted, and it is nearly perfect. Elegant, in fact. And while it is true that Piero's remedy and Sokolov's elixir are known to protect the body against the plague equally, mine has properties not fully understood, which relate to the mind itself and the spirit. And it is in this way that my formula wins out. Here is one where one should pay attention to this contest. For you see, Sokolov's elixir, with its emphasis on the brute animal body, is a crass goo better suited for livestock. The subtle and secret variants in the key ingredients making up Piero's remedy ensure that it works on the higher functions that separate humankind from the mindless blue-jawed hagfish swimming in the Wrenhaven River. A second solution. Piero's request denied. Piero, I will not sign off on these purchases. A bag of powdered crystal? Tyvian ore? What's wrong with metals and crystal? King sparrow feathers? If you need feathers, sacrifice your own pillow. Maybe at the academy everything you needed was paid for by tariff and handed out willy-nilly, but this is my bar, or what's left of it, and we're operating on a budget. We're running low on oil, food, elixir, building materials, and everything else. So you've got to slow down. While I'm footing the bill, I will not approve your purchases unless they're absolutely required. No more copper wire or special herbs. If you need those things, go out and scavenge them. Half the city is in ruins, so no one is going to miss any of the odd crap you seem to need. Admiral Havelock. Sokolov Technology and the New Age. Excerpt from a recent book detailing Sokolov's machines. One of the advantages of Sokolov's technologies is that they share the same magnetic socket for the tanks of processed whale oil they use as fuel. When a tank is exhausted, another can be plugged into place with ease. And the process is simple enough that any common workman, or even the lower guardsmen of the city watch, can handle the task. This applies to the arc pylon and wall of flight security systems, as well as the powered carriages used for transport by those few who are wealthy enough to support them, or to afford them. The only obvious downside of Sokolov's designs is the volatility of the tanks themselves. A few incidents have occurred resulting in damage to property or bodily harm whenever one of those tanks has exploded. Dead counter responsibilities. Excerpt from a manual on new City Watch procedures. Commissioned by the Lord Regent in the face of the growing plague crisis, the dead counter is a position that will only be given to officers, usually of junior or middle grades. In most matters of edict or curfew enforcement, these officers will defer to the acting officer on duty. However, any dead counter will have command in situations related to the plague and the handling of the dead, including those with late-stage plague symptoms, called weepers in common parlance. Starting in the month of rain, interested officers may apply to the test and, if accepted, for the 2-week training tour. Pay will be administered in coin and rations of elixir at 1.5 normal pay grade. Failed Experiments. Excerpt from a series of lectures on natural philosophy by Piero Joplin. Of course I have attempted to improve upon Sokolov's designs. Of course, and why not? After all, it is likely that his thinking was influenced in some way by our time together at the Academy. We were all part of a community, striving to unknot the mysteries of the cosmos. Even those among us who possess the greatest minds are often led to a fruitful line of consideration by, how does one say it, our intellectual subordinates. Sokolov is no exception to this, despite the glamour of genius he has cast over the aristocracy. And further, it is true that many of my experiments have failed. No need to gossip about it behind my back in your social clubs and in the very chambers of the Academy itself. Great ambition requires risks. You may laugh at my door to nowhere, but someday you will not. Your children will likely see it as commonly as you see electric lamps lighting our streets at night. But a few short years ago you would have laughed at Sokolov's arc pile on our wall of light. Your laughter, your condescending smiles, they are nothing but evidence of your own limited imagination. Whale Vivisection. Excerpt from the notes of a natural philosopher aboard a whaling ship. Remarkably, each specimen I had the pleasure of studying during the voyage possessed some minor variance in physiology. On the second leg of the trip, east of Tythia, the crew hauled aboard a female, some 42 feet in length. I estimated she weighed 35 tons, and the ship sat low, rocking side to side through the night with her thrashing. By candlelight, I took her apart, sketching and taking notes. Against her bellowing, I cut into the massive tentacles around her mouth. Within, I found row upon row of teeth, and a baleen running along the upper jaw. Through this broom-like structure, I assumed she filtered food from the water that was too small to be chewed. Whale Oil Processing. Excerpt from the founder of the Greaves Whale House by Ebenezer Greaves. Out at sea, they secure the beast with hooks and with lines cast from the main ship and from several smaller boats. Buoys keep the whale from diving deep. Once it's caught, a larger hook is driven through the tail, which is used to hoist the creature through the chute. They moan and bellow for some time as the men get them onto the deck, then lift them into the scaffolding overhead. The ship adjusts its prow and returns to Port and Dunwall, where the crew works on the great creature, slicing off the fattiest parts while it still lives.
Tell me what I can make for you.
Not now, Piero. Whale Oil Refilling Station. Sokolov no longer has the upper hand with regard to supplies of whale oil. The good Admiral has paid for the installation of my own system, which will enable me to work in this place. The oil tank dispenser, when activated, will produce an empty vessel for filling. When the empty tank is held near the oil tank refill pump, the magnetic attractor should take the tank and lock it into the correct configuration. Using the lever, we'll begin the refilling process. Once refilling is complete, the tank can be removed and placed in service. Extreme caution must be used in handling the full tanks. They're quite unstable. The system is sound and well engineered. It appears that the Greaves Oil Company has done something correctly, for once.
The Academy teaches that absurd idea that the energy in whale oil arises from the need to maintain life functions at extreme ocean depths. The pressure and the cold are too much to endure without it. I speculate that a human being might, by a process of adaptation, produce high-energy humors in the body. I could build a tank that would slowly increase pressure on a subject over a long period of time and then observe them for years if need be to see if the formulation of energetic substances develop. Surely the Empress would be able to furnish me with facilities subject to the necessary legal amnesty.
And now, I think Samuel has something in his little boat hut.
I once served under Admiral Havelock. Captain Havelock then. I don't know if he remembers me, but I fear it's rude to ask. I don't want to embarrass him. I was just a common riverman, hauling parcels and such along the river. But I know how to keep my trap shut, I do. This is about as far downriver as I care to go. Toward the flooded district, the river's thick with corpses. I've seen battles in my younger years, and I see you've got the stuff. Say the word, and I'll back you. All of the little people in the city like me, we miss the Empress something terrible. And the fact that young Lady Emily is out there somewhere still lost, it's just too much for most folks to think about.
I guess that's all he has to say. Mysteries of Pandysia. Excerpt from a book on the far continent, Pandysia. At the Academy of Natural Philosophy, they speak of the Pandysian continent as a place of wonder, where all of life has entwined and blossomed across aeons, producing a vibrant ecology unrivaled in the civilized world. The overseers from the Abbey of the Everyman, by contrast, talk of horror and heresies, of cults of sub-men engaged in brutal, perverse rituals. The few who have traveled to the far continent and come back to the Isles, those who have actually touched the soil there, have returned with notes that describe vast deserts, deep jungles, and outlandish creatures that defy belief. Once in a generation, a great effort is mounted to build a colony there, in hopes of the someday growing into a port city to rival Dunwall itself. But to date, those attempts have all ended in madness and failure. Hey. Trying to crouch with control. There's still more reading to do. Probably some loot I haven't picked up, like that.
You've met Piero. Good. You'll want to get some rest now. You'll be needed soon.
I can't take your beer.
Lord Pendleton's servant, Wallace, awaits you upstairs. He can show you to your chambers. Sleep well. Good to have you with us, Corvo. Nothing against it. Have you talked to Piero yet? He made the weapons we left for you on your way out of Coleridge Prison. Go see him when you can. You don't know what it means to work with a man who stood at the Empress's right hand. We can't bring her back, but at least we have the man she trusted most. And maybe we can help you right some of the wrongs done to you. This bar is mine, but please, treat it as your home. Piero still wants a word with you. He's not a diplomat, but he's a brilliant man. Samuel is a blessing. Without him, we couldn't navigate the waters of the river at night. We keep our lights low to avoid prying eyes. What I wouldn't give to be back at sea.
There's we go. It's just the jelly deals.
Is the man dangerous?
Yes, very much so, but no need to fear. He is here to work with our masters.
People say he killed the Empress.
Of course he didn't. People are foolish and believe whatever they're told.
Okay. If the Admiral trusts him, then so will I. Admiral Havelock made it very clear that we aren't to carry lamps outside. Maybe you haven't seen much of it, but the city has changed a great deal after the Empress died. Since the Lord Regent took over, the city watch is best avoided. Most people try not to go outside at all. We can't leave the pub. I've nowhere to go anyway. My apartment was in the flooded district.
And there's Pendleton.
Pleased to meet you, Master Corvo. I saw you at court in happier days, but you might not remember. I was once a close ally to the Lord Regent, Hiram Burroughs, back when he was just the spy master. He's one manipulative bastard, I can tell you that. There's something distinguished about you, Corvo. Was there nobility back in your family line? I wouldn't be surprised. Did you know I'm distant kin to the late Empress and her line? Not close enough, sadly. I'll never be Emperor. Most of the nobility went straight over to the Lord Regent's side after the Empress died. Easiest thing to do. But to me, a noble birth requires a sense of loyalty. This city has fallen into ruin since the plague struck. These poor weepers moaning and bleeding from the eyes. They say there's no cure for the plague once it advances that far. Terrible. My furnishings have been installed at last with no small amount of complaining by that antiquated boatman. The others have no idea what it's like to suffer as I have. Speaking of which... Wallace! Please breathe 2 bottles of Dunwall Red, never mind which, and fetch a clean glass. Well, I'll begin again tomorrow.
You know, I think I was planning to go through the first mission today, but Gaffer's Tale Volume 2, Admiralty and the Fleets, Gaffer's Tale Volume 1, Have luck log entry 1. It has been days since our men were dispatched to stash weapons for Corvo in the old sewer. They have not returned, so I can only hope they succeeded in getting the packages delivered. Piero spent considerable time and effort making those things. If I could find a way to mass-produce them, the Dunwall Navy would secure its place as the dominant force on the globe. But back to Corvo. Can he actually break out of Coldridge? And if so, will he make his way here? I personally give him odds of 1 in 5.
Log entry 1-4. It seems we have moved to a new phase. Martin's improvisations have borne fruit. The former bodyguard has been freed and is en route to the staging location. The Pendleton's voting bloc and my military connections. All we've lacked is the ability to project lethal force in a controlled manner against a previously inaccessible... to the point, we need a man who can kill the bastards for us. Corvo is more than capable of that, I have no doubt. N-bomb. This is awful. Switch, where the hell?
Admiralty and the Fleet. It was from a book on naval history. While each of the isles has some form of naval fleet, none is more envied than that of Bristol, with its long, proud history of great ships and the admirals who command them. Boys come of age in the cities of Bristol, hoping to someday captain such a ship, and family dynasties are made by those captains who track down infamous pirates or crush seditious uprisings, as during a Morley insurrection. In times of war and peace, Bristol continues to innovate at sea. The ship designs of Anton Sokolov himself now represent the highest standard in the whaling trade, allowing crews to haul their kill up over the deck and begin their butchery and processing, even as the ship returns to Dunwall. The crews can be seen working on their latest whale as the ship moves slowly upon the Wrenhaven River, coming to dock with one of the powerful warehouse companies, such as the Greaves Whaling House. Suspended in the rigging overhead and backlit by the setting sun, the silhouette of one of those creatures makes a moving sight. Typo. Sight as in location instead of sight as in vision, as it cruises to its final resting place in the industrial heart of the capital city. A Gaffer's Tale, Volume 1, excerpt from the travel journal of a young whaler. Gaffer's Tale, Volume 1, or A Gaffer's Early Adventures. My sister Nina and I left Tavia together, saying goodbye to our aunt, the woman who had raised us since childhood. Leaving behind our home city of Yarrow and the cold but beautiful white landscapes we had always known, we boarded a ship for Dunwall. Our parents had left us with a sizable inheritance, and we spent half this getting to the capital city and establishing a small import shop dedicated to Tyvian furs. Once I'd helped Nina establish the business, I was free to pursue my dream. Signing on with a whaling ship was the most exciting thing I'd ever done, and I saw it as a means to an end. Someday I would captain my own crew and eventually own a fleet of similar vessels. With tears in her eyes, Nina kissed me farewell, and I did not see her again for many months. As an apprentice to the gaffer, I got to see the tracking and killing of the great beasts up close. Nothing had ever fired my spirit so as the wind and pounding waves racing after a wounded whale, being pulled by a skein of cables embedded in its thick flesh. I changed more in those first 7 months than I had in the previous 7 years. Whaling was beginning to put its mark on me, so that Nina barely recognized me when I returned, tanned and sinewy with muscle, weather creases already wrinkling the corner of my eyes, but she could see that I was filled with joy, having found my purpose. Volume 2, A Gaffer's Final Passage. After more than a quarter of a century, I am done with whaling, too broken to continue. I've seen all the corners of the Isles and made more coin than most men see in their lifetime, but it's all gone. I've lived through an emperor and watched his daughter take the throne. Fair young empress she was, but slain so young. Everything beautiful comes to die. I've eaten in every port of the known world and sailed in the loneliest waters you could imagine. I've seen the cliffs around Pandysia. Even the best of it doesn't bring me an ounce of joy. The years come back across my dreams as a line of butchered bodies, long, sleek, and singing among the waves under the moonlight, only to be speared by ugly, weather-scarred men who'd knife each other for a good pair of boots. Each year I had less time to come home. My tongue forgot the language of small chatter, and those who lived in the cities thought me odd. My sister Nina hardly knew what to say to me during our visits. When she lost her business to the Lord Regent's crooked barrister, I was 100 miles east of Morley, gaff hand frozen from the sleet as we tracked the first bull whale we'd seen in months. I helped her as much as I could, but Nina died in the early days of the plague. None of it mattered. If I'm jaded and bitter, it's because this industry has taken away my dreams. The world has beaten me. Oh, Mr. Coin. Harpooner songs. What will we do with the drunken whaler? Early in the morning. Feed him to the hungry rats for dinner. Early in the morning. Way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. Slice his throat with a rusty cleaver. Early in the morning. Stuff him in a sack and throw him over. Early in the morning. Way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. Litany on the White Cliff, excerpt from a series of Overseer invocations by High Overseer Abram Templeton. And I say to you, brothers, it is here we make our stand as a righteous force against the growing darkness. It is here we unite against the spirits of the unknown that would drag us screaming into the night, never to return to our homes, to our families. Together we will serve as a rod to those who would stray from the herd, for the foggy gray wastes of the outsider. We will burn a bright fire with our victorious actions so that others will not lose their way, and to those who choose to wander beyond the walls of our homes in far places, we will strike at them swiftly before they whisper to their neighbors, filling their hearts with strangeness and doubt.
I'm sorry it's so dark. We can't risk being seen. It is a bit romantic, though, isn't it? I used to be the hostess here. Oh, I could tell you stories about that, believe me. You can call on Cecilia for the more menial tasks. It's what she's suited for. I hope the bed's to your liking. Let me know if you have trouble sleeping.
Yeah. The Young Prince of Tyvia, excerpt from a theater play. Lord Nathaniel Bale, shaking without rage. How dare you, sir? Clothed so in my very home, I should hand you over the watch, depraved Tyvian. Prince Calasar, moving closer. There's a harsh welcome. That's a harsh welcome for royalty, my lord. Your daughter treated me with much more hospitality. Alas, she has gone out for the evening, leaving me all alone. Shadow on Bitterleaf, excerpt from a longer work of fiction. Finding my way by the feeble light of the dying fire, I saw her working. A large needle moved in her hand, following precise esoteric patterns, knots and loops of seamstress craft from ancient days. Beneath her needle, his body clenched and shuddered, shaking the wooden table. A morbid fascination pushed me closer, until she turned her blank face towards me, resting the needle in his flesh. With a refined tone, she addressed me. So you are the lover, I presume. You too have been unfaithful. It is now your turn to be mended. And now over the next floor. Wallace.
Please follow me to your quarters.
Oh. No. Probably missed an opportunity. No, that's going to be locked. There's another coin here. Oh, it's open. More to read, more to loot. Powder crystal. Go talk to Wallace again.
This is your room. It was chosen to give you privacy. I understand you'll need your rest.
Is that it? Is that all you have to say, man? I guess so. Here's Liddy. Yeah. Book around here somewhere. But I might just be crazy. Before we head to bed. Window. Whoop, hit, whoop, hit, yeah, whoop, hit. The Fugue Feast. Excerpt from a book on the celebrations and holidays. At the end of every year, after the last day of the month of songs, we begin the Fugue Feast. The new year has not started, and thus the time that follows is outside the calendar. A period of celebration and feasting begins, during which the people abandon the very practices that keep them whole and healthy over the year. Many leave their homes, euphoric with spirits or potent herbs. Some paint their faces or wear masks to conceal themselves as they pursue their passions without reservation. When the right cosmological signs are observed and it's time for the calendar to begin anew, the sitting high overseer calls for the hymn of atonement and the fugue feast ends. Families return to their homes, wives to their husbands, enemies put down their weapons, and fires are extinguished. No complaint is given for those who have wronged others, deviated from the ancient codes, or discarded oaths, for this time during the astrological alignment does not exist and is not recorded. The following day starts the new year, marked on the first day of the month of Earth, as it always has been. The Trials of Aptitude. Excerpt from a book on the esoteric practices of the Abbey. Once a child shows the proper inclination, he... Oh, right. I already read that. Wait, that might have been... Yeah, I already read that one. Must be put down. Called to the Spheres, Volume 1. Excerpt from a work of fiction, early chapters. My stomach twisted as the engines of the odd vessel roared louder. It was the creation of Orcato, third prefect from the Academy of Natural Philosophy. He was exhilarated, savoring each of the small craft's undulations. Orchato pulled a lever, and a great gout of smoke surrounded us. The smell of burning whale oil grew unbearable as the machine propelled itself upward. I was too afraid to look through the windows, which didn't feel thick enough. As if knowing my thoughts, Overseer Bryn looked over at me and smiled. Recite some of the litany, my pupil. It will protect your heart from the turpitude of the void on our way to the outer spheres. We're going to space! And I think that's everything, so let's take a nap. Go to bed, get some rest. Somewhere else. In another world. I can feel something calling to me. A strange gravity.
Hello, Corvo. Your life has taken a turn, has it not? The Empress is dead. Her precious daughter Emily is lost somewhere in the city, and you will play a pivotal role in the days to come. For this, I have chosen you and drawn you into the void. I am the outsider, and this is my mark. There are forces in the world and beyond the world, great forces that men call magic. And now, these forces will serve your will. Use this newfound power, my gift to you. Come find me.
That's probably elsewhere. Fallen letter, you cannot save her! Softa. Softa. Emily's letter. Corvo, I'm very sad. They said you're dead, like Mother. But I'm going to put this note in a bottle and throw it into the river because I do not believe them. Living here is very strange. I do not like it, so please come for me if you can. Well. Burrows planning and plotting, as he do.
In the days that follow, your trials will be great, Corvo. Seek the ancient runes bearing my mark in the lonely places of your world, and at shrines raised in my name. These runes will grant you powers beyond those of other men. To help you find these runes, I give you this, the heart of a living thing, molded by my hands. With this heart, you will hear many secrets, and it will guide you toward my runes, no matter how they may be hidden. Listen to the heart now, and find another rune.
This place is the end of all things, and the beginning. All of time is meaningless here, neither seconds nor centuries. Someday this place will devour all the lights in the sky. The one who walks here is all things, cradle songs of comfort and bones gnawed by teeth. This is the place from which those who dabble in the black arts draw their power. And this place is their doom. I can feel a great age ending. This place is the end of all things, and the beginning. All of time is meaningless here, neither seconds nor centuries. Someday this place will devour all the lights in the sky.
Let's see, don't have enough for blank or agility, so let's save for that. Vitality would be nice for when I fuck up.
How you use what I have given you falls upon you. as it has to the others before you. And now I return you to your world, but know that I will be watching with great interest.
Hidden. Corvo has been marked. And now we get all the DLCs, John. Couches. Ports and settings, Dowd. Early life and criminal records, select job. Mystical whale artifact. The Journal of Granny Rags. Excerpts from the rambling of a street denizen. Of course I'll tell you, dearie. I won't keep any secrets from you in the end. All the dreary days of my life are like the windows of a house. From the kitchen I can see out into the garden where the leaves and stalks are brown and bug-eaten. You can see a little lump of dirt where something was wrapped in a blanket and laid to rest among the rows of twisting vines. The front room looks out into the street, where the neighbors are setting fires to their homes, barricading themselves inside, warm and snug, dearie. Don't forget about the bedroom, either. It sees into a dreary alley, where hooligans are playing a game with an old man. The first two are hitting him with sticks, and the girl with them is kicking at his dry old ribs. Oh, to have those bones, to boil them in a pot. No one lives in my house anymore, dearie. No one you'd want to meet. When I lived there with my husband, we were fine, fine people. Vera Moray, everyone would say. Your house is as grand as Boyle Manor. Better even. Your dinners are lavish, and your parties are the best. When that young Sokolov came to paint my portrait, I was nearly still in my prime. Radiant, he said. And he was just barely a man, so young, painting all the best people across the land. Everyone wanted a portrait by his hand, all my friends. I was the only one, dearie, wet with his paint, glistening on the canvas for a pretty coin. But it wasn't all parties and paintings. My husband and I weren't always at home. No, we traveled together, he and I, to the far ends of the Isles, beyond even, all the way to the red cliffs of Pandysia, to dig in the rock and crawl through the caves, holding up candles and squinting at the walls. Many precious things we came upon, but none so precious as the boy with the black eyes, dearie. All those marks and bones, carved so deep and polished so bright. I brought the old bones home, hid them from my dear husband, and then I learned to boil them and carve them myself. They made such good presents, dearie. The little mute boy took them home. He loved them so. All the time he came back with new bones for me, holding them up so I could see it in his eyes, even though his tongue was still. Granny, his eyes would say to me, carve these bones for me. Make me another present. And he went so far, all the way to Dunwall Tower. The royal headsman himself now. My little mute boy and his shiny, shiny sword. Better bones were what I needed, you see. Better bones to carve and polish, scrape and gleam. My dear old husband was always tired. I made him soup, and then he was sick. Better bones was all, for my little mute boy, carved in the name of the one with the black eyes. After my husband was gone, given away as birthday gifts, I didn't want to live there anymore. So now I'm old, and I don't have many to give my presents to. I'm sifting through the garbage for Granny Rags and feeding the little birdies that gather at my feet. No one wants to have tea, dearie, especially those rude louts on Bottle Street. Slackjaw and his boys always meddling with an old woman, just trying to make her way. And in the end, we'll always be together with him. You and me in the dreary night with the stars above and below, and always the one with the black eyes, dearie. Early life and criminal record, Slackjaw. Excerpt from a series of letters sent by a member of the Bottle Street Gang. You want the chin wag on Slackjaw? What he was like when we was young before he got his name? Oh, he got a cool head now, but it weren't always like that in the days before he was the boss of the Bottle Street Gang. Time was, young Slackjaw wasn't such a reasonable man. Like most of us, he grew up on the streets, running with a pack of ragamuffins and avoiding the law, pinching whatever he needed. Dark-haired and dark-eyed, smoking a pipe by the age of 10. For them born into the brothels or coming from the orphanages, it was either the gangs or working with the mudlarks, and no one wants that. Some got pressed in the Navy or put down in the mines run by the Pendleton or Boyle families. As hard as it was on the streets, as hungry as we all got, at least we was free. By the time we weren't little uns anymore, Slackjaw was one to watch, usually calling the shots when we took down a farmer's cart or sidewalk street vendor. He'd come up with a plan, give everyone some part to play, and decide on the split. Most of us just went along because we learned fast that we made out better that way. More food, more coin. Plus, none of us wanted to deal with Slackjaw when he was in a rage. He worked on a couple of big jobs with Black Sally across town, and that was enough to get the attention of the other bosses. He wasn't just a street kid anymore. He was an up-and-comer, which meant trouble. Another guy who fancied himself as such was Mike the Fish, who was working his way running the protection racket among the factory women. One fine evening, we're all set in a body show in the theater house. Mike the Fish and his lot are there in the cheap seats too, just down the aisle from us. Mike gets a wild idea, he wasn't big on planning, and throws a heavy ceramic spittoon at Slackjaw, hits him square in the face and breaks his jaw. We like to see if there's going to be a blood brawl, but Slackjaw just points at the door and we all leave, with Mike laughing at our backs. Waking up the next day without telling us why, Slackjaw motions for us all to follow. He still can't say a word, so we just come along. We stop at the docks and Slackjaw pays coin for it, a heavy chain covered in hooks. It's for fishing in the deeps, something you'd attach to a long line off the side of a ship. It's about 4 feet, made of thick links, and there's shark hooks coming off of it at different angles. Slackjaw's got this thing wrapped around his left arm, jangling at his side. Not sure how we knew where Mike the Fish was staying, but when we reached his girl's house, Slackjaw throws a bottle through the window just like that. It's almost noon, there's a bunch of screaming inside, and Mike pokes his head out, looking wide-eyed and baffled. When he sees Slackjaw out in the street, a look comes over his face that still gives me the willies. Pure murder. Mike comes out of the side, bellowing like a blood ox, holding a cleaver, heading straight for Slackjaw. When they came together at the street, Slackjaw spins and the shark hooks bite deep into Mike's arm and shoulder. He screams, but Slackjaw holds onto the chain. He's standing there with his jaw broken, clenched tight, and the chain wrapped around his left arm. Hook sunk into Mike the Fish, just knifing him as fast as he can. Mike couldn't fight very well hooked like that, using his left hand, but he was a big guy and he took a lot of stabbing before he went to his knees. Everyone was cheering at first, but then we went all quiet. It just kept going and going, until finally it was just Mike the Fish blubbering, crying like a baby, and the sound of Slackjaw's knife. When it was over, and here's the brilliant part, Slackjaw took out a note and stuck it to Mike's face with a nail. It just said, "If you want a job, come to Bottle Street." Slackjaw didn't talk right for a couple of months, but word spread fast. By the end of the year, once we had a sizable gang going, he sent out letters to the other bosses, telling them that he was running a new crew over on Bottle Street. Most of them laughed or beat up the guys who delivered the letters. Green-eyed Trish even came back missing a thumb. But apparently Slackjaw was expecting that kind of reaction and had a backup plan. A week later, 4 of the bosses were dead. Seemed like a series of unfortunate events, but everyone knew better. One shot dead by the watch while standing on the corner of a meat market. Another slipping and falling into the water, out cold. One of the older bosses found in bed with his belly opened wide and a Tyvian pear stuffed into his mouth. Still not sure what that meant. And Sheila Barnsworth was found bubbling in a cauldron of hot wax. Slackjaw sent out another set of letters, offers to the underbosses, telling them they'd be treated fair as peers. Even sent Green Trish with one of the letters. All of the underbosses accepted. After spilling the guts of his main competition, Slackjaw went in for stabilizing his business, real neat-like, calling in favors, smoothing things over, giving everyone a little bit of coin or drink as a bonus. Showing what he could be like as a boss, so everyone got quiet, which makes the boys at the City Watch nervous, of course. Word went out among the Royal Spy Masters Snitches, the Responsible Citizens Group, they called themselves, telling everyone working in a shop or sweeping off the front steps of their homes to keep watchful eyes for Slackjaw and his men, trying to suss out what they were up to and what had just happened. But Slackjaw ain't stupid. He graced a few palms among the shopkeepers and the watch too, telling them that he was in town to stay and that things would run properly from now on, without so much blood. He was finally a real boss, ready to settle into the business of moving whiskey, running the Hound fights and offering up the ladies and gentlemen of the night, if you take my meaning. Then, the Plague Gang. At first it seemed like a good thing. A few people got sick, and everyone wanted to buy those potions from Sokolov or Piero. Health elixir or a spiritual remedy, they call it. Slackjaw told me he saw an opportunity. We already had an old whiskey factory with a still, where we could water the stuff down and sell it discounted. Doing the same with Sokolov's elixir was a smart plan. Pretty soon everybody in the slums was sick, and business was good. But after a while, there were so many people down with plague that everyone got scared. Everyone started acting real nasty and everything fell apart. When people can't work, they don't have the coin for elixir, watered down or pure. When the Empress died, it seemed that Dunwall would slip into the void. Spymaster Burroughs took over, and the watch started using all that new Sokolov technology. Watchtowers, tall boys, and the mark pylons. They put up a wall of light across Clavering Boulevard, cracked down hard. But Slackjaw surprised us again. Instead of leaving town on a boat bound for Morley or one of the other isles, he stayed and kept it all together. We get as much elixir to fight off the plague as the City Watch with their taxes and rations, and that's kept us alive so far. Crowley of the Bottle Street Gang. Ugh. I missed some coin there. Also, I have a lot more coin to do. Failed survey notes, the Royal Spy. Excerpt from the personal memoirs of Hiram Burroughs, dated several years earlier. This is the 4th day, month of high cold. Progress continues on the suppression of gang activity in the distillery district, but more slowly than I'd expected. The ruffians operating there are cunning. I'll grant them that, but it's only a matter of time. I'll see their leaders flogged in public and sent beneath the royal executioner's blade. If I had my way, that mute bastard would be working night and day, removing the heads that need removing. Internally, the Empress does not seem pleased with my investigations. It seems that it is beyond her thinking, against her very nature as a trusting person. Believe that traitors move among us, but I know they do, they must. No, Jessamine would rather spend her time with the royal protector. At least he's likely to stop any immediate threat to her safety, but a strong arm is not what's needed against those who would undermine us. How will Corvo's sword stop a poisoned wine glass, or an explosive delivered by a courier? It will not. There are many threats around us, threats requiring meticulous effort to police. Young Lady Emily is undisciplined, I'm afraid. Here within Dunwall Tower, she receives instruction from the finest tutors known in the Isles. Yet her mother spoils her, and she spends most of her time lost in imagination, wasting her time drawing, or asking Corvo to teach her to fight with wooden sticks. The girl might rule the Empire someday. Every moment spent at play is a moment wasted. Shoring up security for the main gate leading into Dunwall Tower has been another pet project of late. To think that back in the day, Emperor Caldwin left it open to the public during the day, allowing anyone to come in and go as they pleased. If it were up to me, I'd still have access to the streets entirely, but the Empress won't hear of it. The waterlock is much easier to protect, and if it were the only way into the tower, traffic in and out would be greatly reduced. Someday the wrong person is going to slip in, and we'll suffer for it. Mark my words, no amount of security is excessive when it comes to protecting heads of state. The Empress also disapproves of my plan for the Sokolov devices. Sokolov himself has no interest in security, of course, but he's vain and therefore keen to see his inventions deployed in any fashion. This wall of light he's been tinkering with has promise. In any case, at least I was able to convince the Empress to upgrade the pistols carried by the officers of the Watch. Why do I worry so when no one seems to care? If I ever fall asleep, will it all sink into the ocean? Will the rough things clamber over the walls and fill themselves on our flesh? This is what I see in the same dream several times each month. If only I had more say in things, more authority, I could protect us all. Perhaps I've been working too hard. Dinner and an evening of conversation with a certain lady of refinement might be in order. Perhaps somewhere nice in the estate district. Hiram Burroughs, Royal Spymaster. And rumors and sightings Dowd. Except from an overseer's covert field report. For over a year now I have lived away from the Abbey, without the company of my overseer brethren or the guidance of the blind sisters of the oracular order. Days have passed with me sleeping in the dens of cut purses, murderers, and worse. The nights have seen me prowling through the worst alleys and wretched corners of Dunwall. I have taken my meal with killers. At times I have ventured beyond the city walls, meeting in forgotten graveyards and the outlying ruins frequented by those of ill means. My beard has grown long, and I wear the weathered clothing and bits of boiled leather favored by the Bottle Street and Hatter gangs. by those rough men and women who make their trade knifing others in return for coin. My hands are run red with blood, it's true, but I have selected my targets with care, choosing among those criminals and heretics who were not fit to live, executing them justly and using their deaths as a means of building my reputation. So far, this trick has allowed me to make my name among my murderous colleagues without taking the lives of the innocent. My goal is singular. I must impress the assassin named Dowd in order to get close to him. Of all the practitioners of black magic we have tracked, none concerned the Abbey as much as Dowd. It is said that his mother was a witch from one of the archipelagos off the Pendician coast, taken captive by pirates venturing far from the Isles. According to legend, by the time the ship returned, the captain was dead and the witch controlled the crew, with Dowd still a shadow in her belly. The earliest stories tell of a gang killer without mercy, moving among the shopkeepers and city watch officers of Dunwall like a reaper through wheat. Then a period of silence followed. Years, we now believe, he spent traveling the Isles, studying anatomy and the occult in the great halls of learning, and in hidden basements frequented by fellow dabblers in the forbidden arts. Dowd is even purported to have spent a winter in the Academy of Natural Philosophy itself. For a time, before a schism developed, he counted the Brigmore witches among his allies. All the while he honed his craft, and it is during that time that we believe he began to consort the outsider. New reports emerge of a skinned assassin, paid by the elite to eliminate their rivals in Dunwall and in all the other major cities across the Isles. Those who saw him and lived numbered in the handful, but all of them reported something strange. He appeared and vanished like smoke. From a nearby rooftop, he gestured at a noblewoman stumbled from her balcony, falling to her doom on the cobblestones below. More recently, as this new threat of plague has ridden in Dunwall, Dowd has been seen leading a gang of men in dark leather, dressed as factory wheelers in their vapor masks. They seem loyal beyond comprehension for one so unworthy, leading me to wonder if some of his magic is dedicated to lulling their minds, enslaving them. Only a month ago, one young girl claims to have come upon a strange scene. Carrying a bottle of milk home to her crippled brother, she was taking a shortcut through the tailor's district. In a narrow street, she passed beneath the window and heard unusual sounds from within. Pushing aside the ratty curtain, the girl saw into an abandoned apartment, used by miscreants for gambling and trading haber weed. An occult shrine had been erected against the far wall, which she recognized from the teachings given by her local overseer. A man she described as resembling Dowd was kneeling before the shrine, muttering to an unseen spirit, as if in an argument. He took a carving made of pale bone from the altar before him, and the lights all went out in a gush of unclean wind. Quiet as a field mouse, she slipped away, running until she reached her home. There can be no doubt. Dowd is an agent of the outsider and must die, for there is no limit to the evil this man might do. This is my solemn oath and the great purpose of my life. Until Dowd is dead and his corruption has been purged from the world, I will continue to move among the depraved, wending my way towards him. I will not drop my guise nor don my overseer's mask again until Dowd breathes no more. And I think that is enough for today. Oh, that was a lot of reading. We've met with the outsider. We've cleared most of the valuables, all of the accessible valuables from the Hound Pits. And next time, we'll actually get started with the first mission. Thank you for watching so far. Please remember to like and subscribe and all that, and I will see you later.